Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch Council meeting for Tuesday, September 16th. If you would, please join us for our invocation and pledges tonight. And our invocation will be led by the Reverend J.D. Allen from Chapel Hill United Methodist Church.
Thank you, Mary Lynn, for the invitation to come and be with you all tonight. I am the pastor at Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. We live in contentious times. The United Methodist Church had their own in recent years. You probably read and heard about it a little bit. But as United Methodists, we do hope and dream to be a part of and be witness to reconciliation in our communities, in our world, and in all levels of government. So that is our hope and dream. Chapel Hill United Methodist Church, of course, has been here since 1959, not before Webb Chapel that was there, and is now housing the Korean Methodist mission there. But we've had a long mission in Farmers Branch of loving, caring, and sharing with all of our neighbors, with the goal of bringing hope and representing our faith in a hopeful and loving way. And so it is, again, my honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I invite you to please pray with me. O God of all creation, we thank you for the breath we breathe, for the communities you give us, and for your presence with us. Lord, we pray for your guidance in our lives, in our communities, and in this world. As the council meets tonight, Lord, we pray for your aid in Farmers Branch and in our surrounding communities to help us find humility and togetherness and reconciliation, to bridge our differences so that the needs and desires and the dreams can be met for all in our community. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Reverend, thank you again. If you would, please join me for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next up are items of community interest.
Good evening. We have a few items for tonight. September is National Preparedness Month. It encourages people to be prepared in case of natural disasters or emergencies. Farmers Branch Office of Emergency Management encourages residents and businesses to prepare for an emergency by building an emergency kit, making an emergency preparedness plan, and signing up for branch alerts to stay informed of what's happening in your area. To sign up, visit our website. National Night Out is an annual event that reinforces public safety partnerships and encourages neighborhood unity, making our communities safer and secure. This year's event will be on Tuesday, October 7th, and neighborhoods are encouraged to register their block party by visiting farmersbranchtx.gov/410. Registered parties will receive special visits from some of our city council members. Next, the fire department will host an open house and safety fair for residents of all ages to meet local firefighters, learn about fire safety, and enjoy a variety of free activities. The event will take place at Fire Station 3 from 9 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, September 27th, and will feature equipment displays, demonstrations, tours of the facility, learning stations, a branch brigade clowns performance, and more. Fire Station 3 is located at 13333 Hutton Drive. And for more information, you may call 972-919-2640. And as always, you can sign up for CDE News at farmersbranchtx.gov or by scanning the QR code on the screen. And now we're about to watch Farmers Branch City Budget video to learn more about the city's budget process. In just a moment. Thank you.
City budgets are about people and our shared priorities. Every year, the City of Farmers Branch undertakes a thoughtful and transparent process to develop the city's budget. This ensures that your tax dollars are invested wisely to meet community priorities set by the City Council. The City Council guides the city on where to spend money based on community needs. Each February, the City Council initiates the annual budget process by identifying strategic priorities and focus areas during its strategic planning session. The budget process is not completed in just 1 month. It's a comprehensive, year-long effort to develop and approve the city's budget. The budget sets out to accomplish 4 things: captures the city's shared priorities, explains where the money comes from and how it will be spent, outlines the ways the city will provide services, and serves as a communication tool for informing the City Council and the community while guiding city staff. Creating a budget is more than just numbers. It's about listening to the community and understanding its needs, which guides the City Council in developing a strategic plan with specific focus areas. In March and April, city departments begin working on their budgets to maintain or expand programs and services based on the focus areas outlined by our City Council. From here, the city manager can begin building a strong, transparent budget, and by July 31st, the city manager, following the City Council's guidance, prepares and submits the budget. At this stage of the process, the budget is transitioned to the City Council for review and adoption in September, as the city's fiscal year begins October 1st and runs through the following September. During the budget process, public engagement is key, and residents can participate through City Council meetings, workshops, and a town hall held in August. The city's budget is divided into several funds to ensure that every dollar is used for its intended purpose. The 3 main funds are the General Fund, the Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Fund, and the Capital Improvement Project, or the CIP Fund. Other funds, like Hotel Motel, Revenue Stabilization, and Debt Service, play supportive roles. Let's take a closer look at the General Fund. This is the city's primary operating fund. It covers most day-to-day services, such as police, fire protection, water and road maintenance, parks, and more. General funds also include operating expenditure and departmental budgets. But where does the general fund money come from? The largest source of funding is from property taxes, with commercial properties contributing the majority of the property tax. Other key sources of revenue include sales tax, charges for services, and various miscellaneous revenues. As part of the budget review and approval process, the City Council sets a property tax rate. Your tax bill is shared among 5 different taxing entities, with only a portion coming to Farmers Branch. The General Fund ensures that the city continues to deliver the high-quality services that our residents rely on every day. The Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Fund operate differently, as these are self-supporting funds, meaning it is funded entirely through the utility fees paid by our residents and businesses. Most of the fees collected for the essential services such as water, wastewater, and storm drainage systems cover the direct cost from our partners. Dallas Water Utilities for the water provided, and the Trinity River Authority for wastewater treatment. On a typical day, the city treats approximately 5 million gallons of wastewater and delivers up to 10 million gallons of clean, potable water to our residents. These funds are debt-free and financially independent. The next large fund contained in the budget is the Capital Improvement Project Fund, or CIP. The CIP is how we plan and pay for major infrastructure improvements around the city. The CIP fund covers large projects which are funded through general obligation bonds, interest earnings, and available balances from the general fund and the water and sewer fund. These investments are essential to keeping our city moving forward, with key priorities that include replacing aging utility lines, revitalizing and improving our streets, drainage improvement projects. Following this years-long process of evaluating the city's needs and priorities, the city manager presents the budget, and once approved, implementing those priorities will begin. At the City of Farmers Branch, we are committed to accountability, transparency, and delivering high-quality services. Every dollar is carefully considered and responsibly spent. As part of our commitment to transparency and to keep our residents and businesses informed on how their tax dollars are used, we've created a financial transparency website. Visit www.farmersbranchtx.gov to explore the budget process and learn more about our transparency efforts.
Thank you very much. So, let me just take a moment to remind everybody that we do have two council members that are remote this evening, Councilman Roman, Councilwoman Villafranca. So they will be on the screen most of the evening. Next up are our citizen comments, public comments. I'll remind everybody that there's a 3-minute time limit. When you come up to the podium, please state your name and address, and the city will not tolerate unruly behavior, intimidation, disparaging or inflammatory remarks, or other attacks or insults that are not relevant to policy issues or other official business. And our first speaker this evening is Samantha Niemer.
Good evening. Samantha Niemer, Hague Drive Farmers Branch. I'm here today to formally ask all the council members to assist and help with the issues and problems associated with our dispatch system and ongoing criminal activity in our area. On Saturday morning, September 13th at approximately 6 a.m., my husband noticed a strange vehicle parked between our driveway and our neighbor's driveway. He came into the house and got a flashlight because it was still dark outside. He proceeded to cautiously walk up to the car and noticed a man in the back seat slumped over and a handgun with an extended magazine clip attached to it in the front seat. He rushed into the house and called 911 at 6:02 a.m. When several minutes went by with no police presence, we called again at 6:11 a.m. We were told that there was a report already and that we needed to wait for the police to be dispatched. We asked if the officers were en route, and they told us that they had sent in the report and they didn't have an ETA. How do you not have an ETA for a gun reported on the front seat of a car in full view? So we waited again. Still no police arrived after an additional several minutes, so we called again at 6:17. This time we were more upset because it was taking so long for the police to arrive. We received a call back from a Farmers Branch officer at approximately 6:19 a.m. and were told to, quote, calm down and stop calling dispatch, that what we reported was not a first priority and that an officer would get there when they were able to, and then they hung up on us. That's not acceptable. When officers finally arrived at 6:43 a.m., there were 3 officers on scene that quickly arrested the man in the car, took the gun, and placed it in a bag. They proceeded to search the vehicle. It's my understanding drugs were also found on that search. The car was later towed away. My husband went out and spoke to the officers. He explained to the officers why there was such an urgency. It was due to the fact that we have yet another, yes, another drug house on our block. The fact that it took 41 minutes from our first call of dispatch until any officers arrived on scene is absolutely disappointing and unacceptable. Why is it that we have to wait until something really bad happens to actually start to make changes for the better? Have we learned nothing from the recent events that took place last week? Frankly, I'm besides myself and wonder why this has happened twice to us now. The first time was in May of 2023, after an incident with the felons living in the other drug house. The excuse then was the lack of on-duty officers, and it was a shift change. That's still not acceptable. As our city leaders, you all have a responsibility to make and keep our city and the citizens in it safe, no matter which district we live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rick Johnson.
Rick Johnson, Harley Drive, Farmers Branch, Texas. You know, that's a perfect example of how this town just keeps on going to hell. It's ridiculous. This is a tired, wore-out asset that's only getting worse. And that starts at the top. You know, we got council members that are now going after citizens. We've got individuals who think it's more important for them to be the council person representing a different district instead of the one they got elected in. You know, it's just a crap show, period. And it's getting worse. Things need to change. With elections coming up, they're gonna change. And when they do, hopefully we can get some people in there with the mindset to move us back in the direction we all have always been, the stuff that we're accustomed to, the things that make Farmers Branch a special place, not the joke of the Metroplex. I'm getting tired of it. So is everybody else. We have a lot of good workers, right, that do their jobs. Most of them don't live here. Some do. We got management here that they don't live here. They don't care. It's ridiculous. You guys have failed, and it's time to put an end to it. And whatever's wrong, you need to fix it. We got some great council members and staff. We got a city attorney now that seems to be doing very well. And why do we have to pay taxes and live like this? Just because you've got other interests instead of representing the people who elect you, and they elect you for that? This is ridiculous. It's time to wake up. It's time to smell the coffee, and it's time to make some changes.
Next up is Loretta Almanza.
My name is Loretta Almanza, 2564 Wasena, resident here for 54 years. Just as I've planned many events for the city and the residents and the community I live in for the last 6 years, National Night Out, Back to School, Tacos with a Cop, all sponsored driven. Never has the city paid a penny for an event I put on for the community. I posted a flyer for a D1 National Night Out event. I had a special guest named on it, but it was just that, not a political event, not a meet and greet, not a campaign sponsored. It was just that, a special guest. That special guest didn't align with two council people who sit on this dais. So they continue to call every sponsor that was on my flyer and use their position in this city to have them back out of our event. They completely defunded our D1 event. You defunded the most underserved community in this city that you were sworn to represent. I'm standing here before you and the residents of District 1. I don't have Terry Lynn money, but I do have grit, determination, and love for my community, and this event will go on. I have a text message from April 4, 2023. It reads, quote, possible fireworks at tonight's council meeting. Carlos Quintanilla will be there. Andy Olivo, who has labeled me a racist, will be there. The farmer is supposed to be there. He's mad at Omar. This town has so much drama. I wonder why. There was a Facebook post just shared today from one of the council members on this dais, and it says, 1 year ago today, Coquita's Restaurant was proud to sponsor the Tacos with the Cop event. It was a wonderful opportunity to bring our community together in a spirit of friendship and connection. Let's unite and not divide. Your actions do nothing but divide us. Terry Lynn and Elizabeth Villafranca, by doing this, not only hurt the residents of District 1, you hurt the local business resident community. You hurt our relationship. Y'all don't represent residents, you represent yourself.
Next up is David Silver.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. 3.5 weeks rotator cuff surgery, and you should see the other guy. I'm taking a little different tack with you guys tonight. I have some ideas that I want to share with you because sometimes I just sit around and think. So we all know that drivers now like to exceed the speed limit on our illustrious roads. And most of us have lived here long enough to know when the police were able to crack down a lot more. So I had a thought. Flashing red traffic signals in school zones could slow down traffic. For example, Janie Stark at Farmers Branch and Josie Lane has a traffic light. Instead of having it red, green, and yellow, red all the time flashing. McLaughlin and Strickland, Webb Chaplin, Fike, Field, Denison, Richland, Blair, Valwood, and Hartside. All these schools have these lights. Let's experiment, see what happens. That's my thought. We already have it. And if you don't stop, it's just like running a red light. And there's no cost to the city except maybe for someone to punch a little button and reprogram those signal boxes. Number 2, at the intersection of Josie Lane and Villa Creek, there used to be a traffic light. There is none anymore. But if you drive that as frequently as I do, there's always a bunch of traffic going southbound. So the thought is extend the intersection heading south to the north so that the stop line is actually at Villa Creek. You see it? Okay. What that would do, if people abided by the rule, is it would let that intersection flow freer from people turning onto Villa Creek or turning off to Villa Creek. Number 3, this is a real pill for me. A 48-inch delineator post at island breaks to allow drivers to see where the island actually is. So when you turn to the left, you can look down and you can see a 48-inch delineator post and you may not hit the curb. It's just a thought. I'm going to skip 4, 5, and 6, but I want to bring this up. Instead of, and I'm using these as examples, I do not mean anything negative to it. Instead of Hispanic Heritage Month, LGBTQ Month, or Pacific Islander Month, etc., I propose something of the following. I don't know if these months are federal or not, and I really don't care, but let's do months that deal with everybody, like pilgrims and immigrants, pioneers and non-farm laborers, miners, iron and railroad workers, academics, homemakers and domestics, cowhands, farmers and ranchers. I got a list of 12. These are the people who built this country. I think they need to be honored because we are all part of that community. Who may I leave this with?
Thank you. Thank you. Oops. That is all the speakers that we have for this evening on that. So next up is our consent agenda. Motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up is public hearing. First item K1, conduct a public hearing and consider a request to amend Article 5 Special Districts of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance by amending Article 5.6 Alcoholic Beverage On-Premise Overlay District to add the Spring Valley Alcohol Beverage On-Premise Overlay District an approximately 7.96 acre property located at 4801 Spring Valley Road and take appropriate action.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Good evening. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be presenting before you this evening. I'm Brian Campbell, planner with the Planning Department, here to present to you tonight on the zoning amendment for 4801 Spring Valley Road. So this is the subject property. It is zoned Plan Development District number 27, and this is a zoning amendment request to add the subject property to our alcoholic beverage on-premises overlay district. So the applicant is DFW Indoor Pickleball. They are seeking to amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance in order to add the subject property to the alcoholic beverage on-premise overlay district in order to allow the business to serve alcoholic beverages to their patrons in similar fashion to the existing districts that we have here within the city, and without them having to become a qualifying restaurant. And for the benefit of the council members and the audience members, a qualifying restaurant is one that serves both food and alcoholic beverages, with the distinction being that 50% of the gross sales come from the sale of food. And so if this amendment were approved, the establishment would be subject to the requirements of the CZO in addition to all applicable state law. And I would also like to point out that if the amendment were approved, this would only be to permit on-premise sales of alcoholic beverages. This would not include alcoholic beverage sales for off-premise consumption. And so turning to the recommendations of the Farmers Branch 2045 plan, the Farmers Branch 2045 plan does designate the subject property and the surrounding area as mixed use. And so with this land use designation, the plan recommends a healthy mix of the recommended uses shown on the screen in order to provide economic vitality and livability for the areas of the city that have this designation. And so given that the proposal is consistent with these recommended uses and is compatible with the existing retail and commercial uses within the area, it is consistent with the Farmers Branch 2045 plan. And so prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing on July 30th, 24 notification letters were mailed to surrounding property owners within 300 feet of the subject property, as we now require, in addition to a zoning notification sign being placed on the property that same day. Prior to tonight's City Council public hearing on August 29th, we did post notice of the public hearing with the Dallas Morning News. As of this evening, we have not received any correspondence regarding the case. And at their August 11th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the amendment. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those. And we do have the applicant here with us as well, should you have any questions for them. Otherwise, I thank you for your time this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Councilman Neal, this is in your district, so we'll start with you.
Thank you, Brian, for the great presentation. I don't have any real objections to this. I think it was unanimously approved by Planning and Zoning, so I'm on board with this.
Very good.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Bennett?
No questions.
Councilman Reed?
I'm on board with this. We have other pickleball facilities in the city that have alcohol sales, so I think it would be consistent with that, and I'm digging that tie.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
Got to keep it stylish, right?
Councilwoman Villafranca?
As always, you do a phenomenal job explaining everything. Thank you so much. I think this will be a great project to add to this part of town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Councilman Roman?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up to speak, So we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I second the motion.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. So any further discussion? Seeing none.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 3954.
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Very good, thank you. We have motion and second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Continued success. Next up is item K2, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting a maximum property tax rate of .0631795 and take appropriate action.
Mayor and Council, Ben Williamson for the City of Farmers Branch, your city manager. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you on a topic we've talked about quite a bit. So shouldn't be anything new. We do have more of an audience this time, so it's nice to have more folks with the opportunity to see what's going on with the budget and this next fiscal year's budget and what everybody can look forward to. This is the second public hearing for the budget for the maximum property tax rate. For this item, for the council, you are not taking action as a result of the public hearing. The only action will be to close the public hearing as the following ordinances and resolutions right after this. So you're going to see me for 4 items in a row. This one will stand alone. The other 3 I'll bring together, and we can have a discussion based on those as well. This is all the numbers that show how the calculations were done in Truth and Taxation to show how the maximum tax rate was derived. Very important for the residents, for the council. The budget as proposed uses the existing tax rate of 0.5435. It does not assume the maximum tax rate. That's just showing the value proposition of the budget, holding the tax rate flat, but the range of the tax rates that are allowable according to state law for the budget. So again, just to show that this is the maximum possible tax rate. This is not how the budget was built, but this is the Truth and Taxation calculations we do have to show that show a whole bunch of numbers with a whole bunch of different rates to how we finally get the budget put together. These are all available in the proposed budget for consideration in the back part of the budget. So on this one, this is where you see the actual budget and the tax rate that's supporting it. And so when you look at it, the maintenance and operations rate, that's going to be the day-to-day functions of the city that are being supported, day-to-day operations. Interest and sinking is going to be the debt service of the city. So if you take 0.484575 and add it to 0.058925, you get 0.5435, which is the proposed budget and tax rate for the budget. That is the tax rate. So this is the question for the mayor and council. If you have any questions, but the procedure is there. I'll leave the procedure up.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a public hearing, and I don't have anybody signed up to speak to it. Council members, Councilwoman Bennett, any comments? No comments. Councilman Reed. Councilman Neal.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Could you tell me what was last year's maximum tax rate?
I can get that for you. I don't have it memorized with me at this point right here. It was a little bit lower than this current one.
And is this a cumulative type of rate?
There's going to be
year over year, even though we might keep the real tax rate flat?
There's going to be a point with a rolling increment that's involved in how the calculation's done. So if you don't absorb the increment, so the 3.5%, you're allowed to capture some of that and roll with it for future years for up to 3 years. And that's why you see the increment and the maximum growing, because last year we went below the no new revenue rate, and the year before that we also dropped the tax rate. So there is some of that cumulative piece going that adds flexibility to future councils when they're discussing the budget, but eventually it'll hit the 3-year roll and then it'll stop growing and start to shrink back down.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
Yes, thank you so much. You did such a wonderful job. I really appreciate all of the work that you've done and the entire staff. I just want to remind everybody out there that we had a flat budget. We have a $2.3 million budget surplus, which is not what other cities around us are having the pleasure of sharing. So thank you so much for all of your work. Appreciate you so, so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roman.
No questions for me, just thank you for the
Okay.
work.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing on this item.
Mayor, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. If you would, please indicate your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Public hearing is closed. Next up is item L1. Consider adopting ordinance number 3958, approving and adopting a budget and strategic plan for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, providing that expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with such budget, appropriating and setting aside the necessary funds out of the general and other revenues for the maintenance and operations of various departments and for various activities and improvements of the city, appropriating the various amounts required for such budget, amending the 2024-25 adopted budget, and take appropriate action.
So Mayor and Council, if it pleases you, I will address L1, L2, and L3 together, if that works for you. Also be Ordinance 3958, Resolution 2025-160, and Ordinance 3959.
All right, allow me to read the others if we're going to do it that way. Item L2 is consider approving Resolution 2025-160, ratifying the property tax revenue increase reflected in the fiscal year 2025-26 budget and take appropriate action. Item L3 is consider adopting ordinance number 3959, accepting the tax year 2025 certification of appraisal roll in accordance with Section 26.04B of the State Property Tax Code, and to levy and adopt the tax rate for fiscal year 2025-26, tax year 2025, in accordance with Section 26.05B, and take appropriate action.
Okay, here we go. This will make it more efficient so you're not seeing the same presentation essentially 3 times in a row. The way the presentation is built, it'll allow for action on each separate item. Try and take questions and address them all together because they are all interconnected. So again, Ben Williamson, City Manager, thank you for this opportunity to present the final presentation on the FY 25-26 budget. You've seen these slides multiple times, and that's intentional. The journey's been intentional throughout the entire year as we'll go through the timeline and look at what's been done. We start with the council and community priorities. Each of you spent time with me as the city manager and the deputy city manager and the residents identifying what was important, what needed to be in the budget. From that came a prioritization list of areas we will focus on, so public safety, infrastructure, economic development, and neighborhoods. This isn't to say that the other priorities in the strategic plan or the strategy map are ignored. It's saying that as the city grows and changes, these are the priorities for this budget cycle. But beyond the budget, it was also made very clear that we want to make sure it's a resilient budget. So it's not just looking at 1 year, it's making it so the next council, the next staff, the residents of now and in the future are set up for success. And again, to make sure there's plenty of communication, events, and outreach to the community about the budget. When we look at the budget process, it has never stopped. You saw the video earlier. Again, you'll probably see that video many times in the future to come as we start the next budget process. The great thing about that video is it shows the same process we will follow and how we will build the budget and eventually get to the adoption of the budget. So we can celebrate tonight as the budget process concludes. October, the audit will start. We're still working on end of year for the current fiscal year. And then this next budget process will begin the process to be formed and started. We'll start having those communications about what you would like to see, listening to the community as we implement the current budget and prepare again for the next fiscal year. Love seeing that little red line move. As you can see, it's at the very end. Next year, you'll see that This will be the same budget timeline. The only difference will be those actual dates will change. So these are the same steps. We may make some small changes, but these are the budget steps you will see again next year, that rhythm and cadence for the budget. One of the biggest components of the budget is making sure it's resilient, and that's found in the fund balances and making sure that not only our liabilities are well funded, but also that the different funds are well funded and have strong balances. That way the council can allocate anticipated revenues without worrying about what if situations. And again, we saw that from the bond rating, we saw that from the audit. The fund balances are critical and they're strong. Communication has been something that's been a focus of the city this year. You've seen that multiple times. You've seen from the budget outreach, the budget survey, trying to gather that feedback from the community, seeing what the community was saying. This is most important this year, but it was an intentional reach to the community to say, what else would you like to know? Let's talk about the budget. Let's have good conversations. Again, we had the budget town hall, budget workshops, strategic planning workshops. We have had the conversation, and it's great to see this many folks here, hopefully for the budget presentation tonight. So again, I'll discuss together, and I'll bring these back as we get to the end because I want the opportunity to take any questions you all might have. And so you're looking at the first one. It's a little bit counterintuitive the way the adoption of the budget works because you adopt the budget first, and it is a record vote. But the one thing with the budget that's very, very important, when you look at the budget and how you approve the budget, or potentially not, you're looking at the journey to the budget. It's more than just the final product. It's how we got here. And that are we being good custodians of taxpayer dollars? We've talked about other cities and challenges they're having. Those aren't the challenges you're having here in Farmers Branch. There's been successful investment, especially on the economic development side, to bring more businesses in and more to come. You see that on the agendas, more and more economic development agreements being considered by the city council, more and more businesses coming here. Those business tenants help provide for the quality of life of the city and make sure the budget remains strong. So this is going to make sure, this is the resolution and this is the revenue. It does show an increase in revenue. So to be fully transparent, this budget is generating more revenue. The tax rate is staying flat. So if you take business, personal property, real property, and the tax rate growth in those values, you're seeing the budget growing. But what's actually happening, if you go to page 5 of the budget, we'll show you the calculation that shows, yes, the budget is growing, but a lot of that growth is facilitated by agreements with the city. And so some of that money comes right in the door and goes right back out the door. So we're not realizing that full growth. So instead of the 2.3 million you're seeing in the increasing, you're actually seeing a little under 500,000 in growth in the budget. But the budget also absorbed every increase in priority the council was looking for, all cost increases. And that was done by the efficient management of the city based at council's direction to making sure we don't have bloat. We don't have things that need to be trimmed. We restructured and consolidated our functions to make sure they're running efficiently. And the final one. My council, the second option is the option that fulfills the needs of the budget with the 0.5435. We are required to put the maximum one on there. The budget is built on the tax rate of 0.5435. Want to give a special shout out to the resident that put this on there. Said thank you, Farmers Branch, from the budget town hall. So you know that you're appreciated for your efforts because we're here because of your guidance as a city council. And then also one thing that's critically important is when you look at the budget and how it's built, it's not built by me as the city manager. It's directed by me based on my council and your priorities. There's a team that builds the budget. This year represents a neat circumstance because next year the finance director will be standing here giving this presentation. I'll be sitting up there with my council answering any small questions you might have, but the finance director will be giving this presentation. So this budget's a neat transition from where we are today into the future. So that handoff happening. But the budget for to get to here today, I want to make sure the individuals that were part of this journey are also celebrated as well. As we searched for the right fit to make sure we had a great finance director, the deputy city manager stepped into the finance director role and was critical. So Jawaria Tareen, as our deputy city manager, stepped in and made sure the finance department did not miss a beat. So making sure credit is where credit is due. And then one person who will not speak and I will not embarrass, but has made a rare appearance at a city council meeting, our budget manager at 38 years of experience. This is her final budget with the city of Farmers Branch. So we're celebrating a wonderful career with the city. She's not retiring tomorrow, but this will be her last budget with the city of Farmers Branch after 38 years. And so that's Miss Suzanne Pritchard. So making sure the council, the staff, the residents know, you see that dedication that's there. That's a 38-year employee who has helped, again, always behind the scenes with the budget. Again, the deputy city manager and the partnership between all of us to make sure you have that budget here today. And so with that, council, I'll take us back. 3 slides. Here we go. First, any questions or concerns about any of the items as presented?
Councilman,
No questions.
Councilman,
None for me.
Councilman Neal.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Jawaria. Thank you to the staff. I know it's worked a lot of hours to put this all together. I just thank you all very much.
Councilman Roman?
Well, I know that we've been working on this since February, so it's been a very long marathon of work for the team, and I know you, Ben, and Jawaria, as well as the finance team, have worked countless hours and stayed here very late at night, even when I call you and I ask you, are you home? And you're like, no, I'm here still, and it's late at night. So thank you for putting in all the hours to put this together. I know that this is a vote you're very much looking forward to, so I'll be quiet and let it go on, but I wanted to say thank you and express my appreciation for you and the team.
Thank you. Councilwoman Villafranca?
Thank you so much for all of your work, Ben, Jawaria, the entire team. This is a phenomenal budget, and I am proud and honored to be a part of this, be your colleague. Thank you.
So, Ben, I'd just sort of like to take just a moment and say thank you to Suzanne back there, and congratulations on 38 years. So, we appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this, not only from staff, but my fellow council members and whatnot. Lots of meetings, lots of discussions, and a lot of mental effort to make Farmers Branch a better place.
And just to make sure, when I talk about that commitment from staff on this one, sometimes that means staff working a 24-hour shift. That's sometimes what it takes to get the budget out the door, and that's the commitment level of the staff too. So to make sure this budget is here before you is well constructed and worthy of your consideration, that's the commitment level from staff. That's not direction from me, that's the commitment level that comes to the table.
Okay. So I tell you, we're not going to change anything else tonight on the budget. Anybody want to make a change? No?
Please.
Just joking.
No.
Just joking. Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the ordinance number 3958 as presented.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. This will be a roll call vote. So if you would, please, Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villafranca,
Yes.
Councilman Neal.
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much. Okay. Let me find my place. I was trying to get back to that other, go back one,
They're in the motion for L2.
yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2025-160 as presented.
Mayor, I'll second.
Thank you. A motion and a second, if you would, please indicate your vote. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. This is a roll call vote again. I apologize. Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Neal.
No.
Motion passes 4-1.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 3959 as presented.
Mayor, I'll second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Again, roll call vote. Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villafranca,
Yes.
Councilman Neal?
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Okay. All right. Next up is item L4. Consider approving Resolution 2025-173, authorizing the acceptance of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas Blue Impact Grant in the amount of $60,000 to be used toward the city's promotion, construction, and activation of a free-to-the-public fitness court, and authorize the city manager to administer the grant funds and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kevin McCoy, Chief of Police, and I came before you at the last council meeting to discuss this program, this grant from Blue Cross and Blue Shield for the outdoor fitness court at the Justice Center. We discussed at that time some of the options that we were considering in the location for the park and the fitness center. We have received the grant of $60,000 from Blue Cross Blue Shield and are here tonight to show the project again and ask for permission to receive the grant and move forward with the construction of the fitness court at the Justice Center. And just like last time, I can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Chief. Does council, does anybody have any questions? Councilwoman Bennett?
I have no questions.
Councilman Reed?
I'm all set.
Okay. Councilman Neal? Okay. Councilwoman Villafranca?
Yes, Chief, thank you so much, and thank you for finding this grant. This is going to be a wonderful, wonderful partnership. This park is going to be at the police department and in an area of completely unused space. And think of all of the bridge building that we'll be able to create. I mean, I'm really, really excited about this, and I can hardly wait to see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roman?
Yeah, I just have one question. So were we going to use some of the surplus funds to fund this? Is that where the money was going to come from?
Yes, that was the original proposal, was using end of year surplus budget dollars.
Okay, so maybe this is a question for Ben. I know that we had a conversation. It didn't seem like we were all sort of in agreement as to exactly how we were going to be using the surplus funds. So how is that going to work in coordination with moving forward on this?
So this one is the only one of the items that was time sensitive because there's a grant tied to it. So what we had to do was park funds that are in surplus and from end of year into the grant account so we can show we have funding to match should the city move forward. If the city does not move forward, those transfer back. The council can direct which account it should come from. Those funds can come from non-bond CIP for parks, or they can come from end of year. Each one is a different bucket that can be used differently. We will adjust based on council's direction, but we had to give a response for the grant, and that's why this is the only item coming back that was parked originally in end of year discussions. But because it's time sensitive, we do need direction from the council. If the council says yes, then we'll come back to the council and identify which bucket it will come from, whether it's end of year or non-bond CIP for parks. But for now, we had to move money to hold it in the grant fund to show we can support our match should the council want to move forward. If council does not move forward, we'll transfer the funds back and they wait final direction from the city council. But this one's time sensitive, so we did need direction from council and it couldn't wait. But it's the only one that's tied to other funding sources.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, comments?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2025-173.
I second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All righty. Next up is item L5, consider approving resolution 2025-182, nominating up to 2 candidates for the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District and take appropriate action.
Mayor, Council, Aaron Flores, City Secretary, Deputy Director of Administrative Services. So tonight we're going to be talking about nominations for the DCAD Board of Directors. DCAD is made up of 9 directors, and currently places 4 and place 5 are going to expire December 31st, 2025. So DCAD is seeking nominations for the election that they will hold to replace these members. Once DCAD has all the nominees from all the different taxing units, then they will send out a ballot, we'll come back to council, and you guys can cast a vote for whoever you would like to be on that board of directors. Here's the information just in a timeline format. So right now we're in the process of getting nominations. The ballot will be distributed to the taxing units. The taxing units will cast their votes. City of Farmers Branch will be eligible for 14 votes, either to be split evenly between 2 nominees, or you can vote all of them for one and none for the other, however council wishes to do. And then they'll declare the winner in late December, with the new term starting in January. So our options for tonight is council could select 1 or more nominees for us to submit to DCAD, or you could select no nominees and just wait and cast a vote from other taxing entities' nominees. And I'm here for questions.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Council, any questions? Councilman? No questions. Councilwoman Villafranca?
Do we currently have any residents on this board?
So this is typically nominees from the council.
Right, but since we have an option to either nominate someone from our city or not, do we currently have someone that lives in our city on the DCAT?
No, ma'am.
No. Anything else, Councilwoman? Okay. Councilman Roman?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right. So we don't have, I don't know that anybody has contacted any of the other council representatives. I'd like to nominate Kevin Caldwell as a candidate to be on that board.
Okay, so that's the only nomination that we've had thus far. So if there's a second for that, we could take a vote. The resolution that's attached to this item would be passed, just amending it to add Kevin Caldwell's name.
Yep.
Can I nominate someone?
Yes, you may.
I'd like to nominate Joe Dingman.
Is there a second for any of those nominees? Okay.
Seeing none, so we will not have a nominee from Farmers Branch.
Okay, so when the ballots are handed out to the taxing units, we'll bring an item back for votes.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
That concludes our regular agenda items for this evening. We did not finish our study session, so at this point, we're going to wrap up with study session. Then we will go back and finish our executive session items. So next up is item C3, discuss and appoint and/or remove, discuss the appointment and/or removal of Farmers Branch appointed Valwood Improvement Authority board members.
Sorry, that is me again. Okay, so back again, Aaron Flores, City Secretary, Deputy Director, Administrative Services. So we're back to talk about the appointment or removal of Valwood Improvement Authority members. It was created to mitigate flood control in the Valwood area, also deals with some public improvements. There are 7 members, 3 chosen by the City of Carrollton, 3 by the City of Farmers Branch, and 1 by the Dallas County Commissioners Court. And members must own land in the district's boundaries. They're listed as the current board of directors. For us, we have David Koch, Michelle Holmes, and Andrew Jones that have been elected by us. And we currently have 3 applicants that are listed there. And that is all I have. So this is, staff is just looking for direction on this one.
So we have 2 that have terms that expire at the end of the year.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So are we looking to vote now to replace one or both of those, or keep them, either way?
I believe this was requested by Councilmember Roman, if you wanted to speak about it.
All right, I'm sorry. Councilman Roman, you want to start our discussion?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I think one of the things that I was looking at just when we were having conversations early on about the Development Improvement Authority, I believe, I don't remember if it was an email or some sort of in-person or phone call conversation I had, but I had learned that Michelle Holmes was attending virtually and could potentially, or I guess was considering not being on the board anymore or something like that. And so I kind of wanted just to bring this item forward to see, first, given that this is sort of not a board that we created, my understanding is this is a board that is created by statute. And so there are some interesting rules about whether we're, I guess, allowed to even remove. And so, I certainly expected this to have been brought forward a while back, like when we had the conversation with the executive director of the authority. And so I guess my first question is, maybe to Nicole, maybe this is more of a legal question. Are we allowed to remove members off of that board? And if so, what is the procedure to do that?
Yeah, so my review of the statute is because you'll have the authority to appoint, you would have the same authority to remove. It's silent on any other removal specifics. So that would be my advice. If you can appoint, you can remove. And so it followed the same process. So if there's somebody you'd want to remove, we would need a vote to do so. And then now we have a vacant position, and now we fall under the vacancy requirement, which under this scenario, because it's not for lack of disqualification, it's a removal, then you as a board could actually fill that seat. You just have to do it within 60 days.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I certainly don't see a need to remove David. I think he's still, attending in person, and I don't think there's a desire of him to leave. But I think for the circumstance where Michelle Holmes is in, I think it would warrant removal of her to appoint somebody who lives in that area, because we just had one person finally appointed to the authority that actually lives there. And so I'm not familiar with Mr. Wolf, but I am familiar with Sabrina and Pat Trapp. Both of them live in Mercer Crossing, and both of them are actually on the board of the HOA. So I think for those reasons, both of those individuals either of them would be really strong candidates. I think Sabrina's a president. I think Pat Trapp is, treasurer. I forget what his particular title is, but I think he has a title other than just being a board member. So I just kind of wanted to get the thoughts from other council members and see what they thought.
Councilman, I will remind you, it's not a requirement to live in the area. It's only a requirement to be a property owner in the area. And then additionally, Albert Wolf was one of the names that was submitted previously along with Andy Jones back when we appointed him. So, and his bio was brought forth at that time. So Councilwoman Bennett.
When they presented, I thought Mr. Knutson said that Michelle was wanting to not be on the board anymore.
That
And
is correct. She is moved.
She's moved,
But she's she's still a property owner, but she's still, but she has moved
Right,
to
and so it was
Midlothian.
her will at the end of her term that she wasn't going to come back. And so I think that's where some of this might have started, Councilman Roman. But I just wanted to clarify that.
Sure. And, you know, her term expires in December anyway. You know, I would just caution the council, you know, removal of somebody who's a volunteer in these organizations is sometimes looked upon negatively by the public. Perhaps you would consider letting her term expire and then making a new appointment, just for the perception, because Michelle has served the city
I know,
many
but
years as
I thought
councilperson.
he said that she didn't want to anymore. And he offered then
Yeah.
to do it then.
Right. Does
That
she
night.
went out now, or
That's
anybody
where
know?
That was my take from his presentation. But we assigned Andy, and then he asked, that's when she was brought up that she was leaving too, and could we go ahead and assign somebody then? So that's the reason I'm like, I'm not opposed to removing her, only because of that specific conversation that he brought it up.
Okay.
She no longer
Yeah.
wanted to do it.
Tina, you're right. Now it's coming back to me, and that's where Albert Wolf came in. I think then Pat Knutson said, "Oh, Michelle wants to get off, so why don't we put Albert on there?" And then we had more candidates obviously come forward, and I don't know anything about Albert Wolf, but I do know about the other two individuals and their involvement already in the city and leadership roles, and obviously they live there, so any decisions that they're making they have a vested interest in making sure that they're good decisions.
So Albert Wolf does have a construction background. I remember that from the previous information that was submitted. I don't know Sabrina Martin. I don't know her background. I do know Pat Trapp. He has been on planning and zoning, but I don't know what he does. So if we need to have more information, we can certainly do that. And then,
I would actually like to know if Michelle wants to see it through.
well, then.
I agree.
Then,
I think we should probably wait until we get something official from Michelle, maybe an email from her that she's willing to step aside immediately, or if she wants to wait until her term expires, and we can revisit these three candidates at that time.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
Their terms expire in 3 months. They've been on that board for a very, very long time, many years. I'm not opposed to either waiting until the end of December or going ahead now and voting for people that actually live there. I understand you can own 1 square foot, but I think that was in the times before anybody actually lived there. But now we have residents that live there. And I do think that it's important that we select people that live there and that are part of that community. I think that Sabrina and Patrick would be wonderful.
Thank you. But, okay, based on this feedback that we've got, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to overlook you.
Thank you. No, I agree that we should get the opinion of the person, Michelle, and find out what her intentions are. If she wants to stay, great, because it's not that she hasn't been participating. It's not that she hasn't been a productive member of the group. It's so it seems like it would be a shame to oust her from it for not having done anything wrong or inappropriate or lack of attendance. As we find 2 council members here are attending remotely, so I think a member of this board should have that same option. But it comes down to what she wants to do, whether she wants to get out now or wait till December.
So think waiting, I'd like to table this to the next meeting, and that way we can have time to hear from Michelle, get her response. Also, the candidates, all three candidates here, perhaps we can get a current paragraph on each, just so we have that information.
Yeah, we can do that. We've also have the applications that we sent out, and they were interviewed, and they're on the share drive for the council.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think all the information that we need is probably already included in the packets in terms of background experience, resume qualifications, length of residency, all of those things.
I think the applications were sent with the email that went out with the packet. It's not in the packet, but yes.
Okay. I don't recall seeing that, but in either case, I think just to give courtesy to Michelle Holmes.
For sure. I'll reach out to her, and then we'll bring this back at the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just make one correction? The Dallas County appointee is actually Becky Miller, not Becker Miller. It's in the presentation.
Oh, my apologies. I will get that fixed. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is item C4, receive an update from the city attorney regarding items being discussed and or approved in the 89th legislative session and special session.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Nicole Kaur, City Attorney. I'm here to present kind of the top 10 list, if you will, from the 89th legislative session that our second special session just ended last week. Just for clarification, or I guess reference points, this year over 9,000 bills were initially filed with the legislature. 1,300, or about 1,300 were actually passed, which is only about a 14% passage rate, which is actually lower than the typical 20%. Of all of those, about 260 that were passed actually directly impact cities. So I'm just going to kind of hit some high points, some highlights. I have provided a memo, and I also want for the audience as well. So TML actually does a really good newsletter and a really good summary because they are there in Austin. They are watching this process. So I'd recommend, it's actually, it was issued on September 5th of 2025 and it's number 34. If you look at TML's website, I'd highly recommend you look at that for more thorough review of these bills. But for tonight's purposes, I'm just gonna, again, hit some highlights. Happy to answer any questions if I can. But one of the first ones is the purchasing procurement limit. They actually raised it for bids that are required to go through the competitive process. So typically it's anything over 50,000. Now it's anything over 100,000, probably because inflation. Land use regulations, we had a couple here, mainly about zoning notice and protest procedures. Two in particular, so they've added a new definition for what they're calling proposed comprehensive zoning changes. Under that definition, there are new notice requirements. You have to notice property owners and occupants who are going to become non-conforming. Newspaper notice and website posting is only recommended. You no longer have to do the sign posting. And then they also, for protest procedures, so anything that's not considered this new proposed comprehensive zoning change, in order to file a valid protest, you have to do a written petition either signed by 20% of the owners of the area covered by the proposed zoning change, or 20% of the area immediately adjoining and extending 200 feet, or, and this is where it's pretty new, 60% of the adjoining area extending 200 feet if the proposal allows more residential development and does not allow additional commercial. So what you'll see is these are kind of pointed towards this movement for a lot of multifamily high density. And so the legislature is kind of pushing back on that and wanted to make sure that anybody who's going to be adjacent to some of these new larger high density projects have the opportunity to file a petition and to be heard.
So does that mean, let's say a multifamily development was going to go in on such and such street within close proximity to existing homes, single-family homes, so those homes could then get signatures.
Correct, but you would need 60%. Instead of typically it would be the 20%, but they've upped that to 60% of those adjoining property owners would have to file the petition.
Within what boundary?
200 feet.
Okay. So, okay. Thank you.
Next, we have the home occupations. Here, we have a new definition for no impact home-based business. Really, the intention of this bill was to protect home-based businesses. They really wanted to limit the city's ability to regulate these. And so basically 4 things that the city can no longer do. The city cannot prohibit someone from operating a home business. They cannot require someone to obtain a license or a permit to operate there. They cannot require someone to rezone the property for a non-residential use, and they cannot require them to install a fire sprinkler system if it's in a single-family home. In addition, the way that they define no home-based business, and you'll see it here on the slide, you'll see that they can't generate any on-street parking or substantially increase traffic. They must operate in a manner in which none of these activities are visible from the street. And again, I think this is the legislature trying to balance things, right? So city, you can no longer regulate them. You can't require them to have a permit. You can't require them to put in a sprinkler system. But at the same time, that home business, I mean, you can't make a bigger impact than something you would typically do in a home. So I think that was the legislature's attempt to balance.
Question.
Yeah.
So what if somebody claims a home-based business, but they're actually just using a single-family residence as a storage unit for storing all sorts of whatever, wares, goods, wares, and not living there?
So that would not actually qualify for no impact home-based business, both under this new definition as well as your current CZO, your zoning ordinance as well. Your current zoning ordinance regulates home-based businesses, and it's very strict in how it defines a home-based business. So that scenario that you presented, they are no longer using it for residential purposes, and that would not be allowed. Food trucks. This is always a hot topic because as food trucks have become much more popular, cities have tried to catch up and started passing regulations and prohibiting where they can be and restricting them to where they can set up shop, so to speak. And so finally, the state legislature has come in and said, okay, enough. We're just going to say cities, you can no longer regulate them. The state is going to regulate them, so it's consistent across the board. There are still a couple things cities can do. We can use our zoning to restrict them to certain areas. They must comply with, fire and police and code and zoning and all those other things. But we can't regulate as far as permitting and requiring them to pay us a fee or some of these other more restrictive regulations you'll see in some cities. So basically the state has just come in and said, we now control the laws pertaining to mobile or to food trucks.
Question. Can we regulate where they set up their food trucks within
Yes.
the city, certain zoning areas?
We can, yeah.
Okay.
We still have that ability to use our zoning laws.
But our health inspector will no longer be able to inspect them.
Correct. So the state's taking over that as well. I will say they've given the Department of Health and Human Services time to kind of come up with how do you inspect? And it's not real clear, but I know that prior to this passage, they were working on where you could actually contract with the state, or if the state doesn't want to come in and do it, then they will give the city the authority to go ahead and do those inspections.
Okay, because, the portability of food trucks could obviously lead to non-sanitary conditions, and we want to make sure that if anybody's eating food from a food truck, that it's healthy to do so. And they don't have to worry about disease or anything else. So at least with our local food inspector, we know that's being done. Now that's being taken away from us, so it gives me great pause for concern to wonder about the safety of food trucks.
And I'm
sure this is a comment that came up during this discussion in the legislature when they pulled it back from local jurisdictions. I think we just kind of have to wait and see what DHHS comes up with and see if their regulations give some leeway, like I said, where they would, if they don't want to come in themselves, they would allow local jurisdictions to still do those inspections. But they just need to make sure those inspections will comply with the DHHS regulations that are passed. Okay, land use assumptions and impact fees. This has changed how we can set impact fees. Basically, we're now limited. We can only increase it no more for every 3 years. Whoever serves on the board of your impact fee board must now be made up of no less than 50% of real estate agents, people in the business, so to speak. And they also raised the vote needed to increase an impact fee from simple majority to 2/3. Manufactured homes, so mobile homes. Every once in a while, the state will come in and kind of remind cities, like, you still have to allow them. And so this is one of those times where they have now redefined what a HUD, I think you call it a HUD code manufactured home is what they call it. And it has to meet those specific specifications for it to qualify for this type of manufactured home. But what this law does is it prohibits a city from requiring an SUP or a specific use permit or similar permit for a new HUD code manufactured home if the home is constructed with state and federal laws. The idea being, if somebody goes and buys one that complies with state and federal law as far as how it's constructed and built and meets all of those requirements, then the city can't still require an SUP to have that home. Basically, it meets all the other qualifications. Why are we adding this additional layer to it?
And it can be placed anywhere?
Cannot. So secondly, cities are required to allow the installation by right for use as a dwelling in at least one zoning classification or district. So we can still restrict it in nearly every other zoning. We just have to make sure that they're allowed in at least one zoning district.
Where do you do that?
The next one I have on here, occupancy controls. I prefer the name the frat house bill personally. So that's what this is. I think this came out of College Station actually. And basically what it says is cities can't restrict the number of occupants or the relation of occupants in houses if you're in a city with a population of less than 250,000 that contain or are adjacent to an institution of higher education with an enrollment of 20,000 plus. So there's a couple of hoops that have to be jumped through in order for this bill to actually apply. I know that for Farmers Branch, I think we have Brookhaven College. I did a little Googling myself, and I think that they're under the 20,000 enrollment. So under that scenario, I don't think this is actually going to affect Farmers Branch. The Texas Open Meetings Act, I think we're all very familiar now with this requirement that our agenda is no longer posted in 72 hours, but 3 business days, if it wasn't already difficult enough to put these together in time. So that's the biggest one that's come out of it. Obviously, how do you define 3 business days? This is a hot topic amongst city secretaries and nerdy attorneys. Everybody's just kind of abundance of caution, just making sure it's 3 business days, not including the day of the actual meeting. And so I think we're posting ours by the Wednesday before, is that correct? Tuesday, okay. So we are posting ours the Tuesday before the meeting, just to make sure we're in compliance. This next one's kind of interesting because this actually came up in a city down in South Texas, I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe 1 week ago, during a meeting where, we have a couple of people who've logged in, and they took over the meeting virtually on YouTube or wherever it was live streaming, and we're streaming some dirty videos instead. So apparently this happens more than you would think. So the legislature actually make it a criminal offense to basically hijack a public meeting.
So you can't just delete them off?
Not if they hacked you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if somebody just logged in, or if we were doing a virtual town hall, or some other meeting and we have people on and they're being disruptive, we have the right to cut them off.
We do. It'd be similar to if somebody was here in person and were being disruptive or violated our rules of decorum. Same thing would apply virtually.
Okay, thank you.
Municipal court, again, this is just one of those that affects cities. And I think this is pretty important for municipal courts because now they combined their security and technology fund into a single bucket, which makes it a lot easier for them to be able to have the money to upgrade for security purposes, like, you know, put in metal detectors or even bulletproof glass, which unfortunately is becoming more and more necessary, especially in our municipal courts. These are just some regulatory compliance, have to do with cottage food production deregulation. So, you know, mom and pop farmers who, you know, want to sell raw honey or make their baked goods and, you know, put them at the end of the driveway. I live out in the country and there's quite a few of these around. And so this was kind of their attempt to appease these smaller organic farms, mom and pop growing operations. The homelessness bill, so basically what the only thing that this really applies to is if a city is trying to provide housing to homeless individuals and they want to convert a city-owned property to house those homeless, those cities are required to now hold a public hearing at least 90 days to the proposed conversion. The hearing must be held within a mile of the property, and you must obviously mail notice to each residence or business within 1 mile. I think this is probably more directed at your larger, like a Houston or an Austin, who may be converting city-owned property to house the unhoused. Another deregulation is honey. One of my neighbors actually sells honey, so I think she'll be very pleased with this. And then the regulation of signs in the right-of-way. I thought this was kind of interesting because I think finally TxDOT's getting sick of all the signs in their right-of-way, and so like we're now going to actually make it a penalty. And so that's what this is. There's now a civil penalty for commercial signs in the TxDOT road right-of-way as well as ours as well. And they can even file a suit against the sign in order to recover. I think this is in response to like roofers who post like thousands of the signs in the right of way, or anybody advertising, you know, their business. And so this is finally giving a little teeth to being able to not only remove it, but actually go after those businesses civilly. And finally, this is a notice required for exclusive solid waste franchise agreements. So if a city decides that they are going to contract with a single service provider to collect trash, they now have to give certain notice to every other commercial provider. So in this instance, so if they are providing it and we already have an existing contract, if it's going to expire, then we have to give notice the earlier of the date existing in the contract expires or the first anniversary that we provided the required notice in a newspaper. So this becomes important if you have an existing one or you're going to amend it, or if you're thinking about going to a single service waste contract. So if that comes up, we will obviously check. I have a client right now who's going through this process. And so it's just something we've got to make sure that we, keep an eye on those timelines and those posting requirements. So the only other thing that I was going to talk about, I know that Councilmember Neal specifically asked it about what's been referred to as the Death Star bill. This one's kind of hard for us as attorneys because we just don't know what it means. Basically, in 2023, the state legislature passed what we're calling a field preemption or preemptive bill. And what it did is it basically said that the city cannot adopt or enforce regulations or ordinances in a field already occupied by state law. And this is in 8 different codes. Local governments, Agriculture Code, Business and Commerce Code, Finance Code, Insurance Code, Labor Code, the Local Government Code, the Natural Resources Code, the Occupations Code, and the Property Code. So obviously, I mean, to what extent? So if somebody was going to actually come into compliance with this, what does that mean? Does that mean that we have to review
every single law that's in every single one of these ordinances and compare it to our existing ordinances and make sure that we're, not overstepping. That's what has led to so much confusion and litigation. So several cities actually filed lawsuits when this was passed, and it was actually found unconstitutional by a Travis County District Court judge. However, that decision was overturned by the Third Court of Appeals. This Texas Supreme Court is just kind of sitting back and waiting to see if there's going to how this is going to play out in court. So basically, they're just kind of wait and see how many decisions we're going to get from all these different trial courts. And once we have a big jumbled mess of mismatched opinions, then the Texas Supreme Court will most likely step in and kind of explain to us, what does this actually mean? At this juncture, our recommendation has been, since this was passed, is for cities really not to do anything. Just unless somebody brings it to our attention or files a lawsuit. I just think there's too many unknowns. We don't know if it's actually constitutional or not. And the undertaking of having to ensure that we are in compliance with no less than 8 separate codes is just astronomical. So that is our recommendation at this time, but obviously everybody is watching this and see how it plays out in the courts. So that's it for me, unless anybody has any additional questions.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Any questions? Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Nicole. Very thorough. I very much appreciate it. And I would hope to think that we will accept her position on the Death Star bill, that we don't do anything at this time. So.
Okay.
I think I have plenty of work from you guys right now. So.
Councilman Roman? Councilman Baker? Councilman? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is item C5, receive an update from the mayor and council members regarding board liaison information from outside organizations and other meetings attended. Councilwoman Bennett?
I ran this by Nicole and Ben. So I have not attended any outside events this week. However, I've had plenty of activity. So I have a position statement to make as the Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. I feel compelled today to speak directly to my council, our residents, and our business partners. As your city leader, I expect, as you should expect of us, the highest standard of professionalism and service from myself and from the entire council. Sadly, our actions over the past couple of weeks did not meet that standard. The way activities were handled over the past couple of weeks were unacceptable and fell far short of the leadership this community deserves. While the specific details do not move us forward, the fact remains our residents and business partners deserve leadership defined by excellence, respect, and consistency. What occurred was beneath those expectations. Your trust is not guaranteed in us. It is a must for us to earn that and preserve that through our actions. We must immediately refocus on matters that are most important to us: public safety, infrastructure, strong neighborhoods, and economic development. That requires discipline, accountability, and an unwavering commitment to doing better. I remain committed to doing my part, but this council as a whole must rise to the level of our community's expectations and their rightful demands. I will not accept anything less from myself, and neither should you. Thank you for holding us accountable and for the continuing to partner with us in making Farmers Branch a place to live, work, and do business in.
Thank you. Councilman Reed?
Nothing for me.
Councilman Neal?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilman Roman?
Nothing from me.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Yes, thank you so much. I had the opportunity to attend the MetroCrest Connect lunch, where I was able to brag about all of the wonderful things that are going on in our city. I attended the MetroCrest Leadership Retreat. I should tell you that I was accepted to the MetroCrest Leadership Program, and I was able to spend some time with my colleagues, Mayor Lynn, Jessica Alvarado, Darren, Heidi, and all of the others that have been accepted to the program. We had our retreat, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a great learning experience. I had an opportunity to meet with Gay Willis, the city council member across the freeway from us, to talk about things that we can work on together, including the unhoused issue. had a great meeting, and I look forward to working with our colleagues over in Dallas. Attended the Chiefs Roundtable. A great job, Chief, and everybody that was able to put that together. Had a great turnout from different municipalities, and talked about all of the things that the Citizen Police Academy and Citizens on Patrol do in their respective cities. And I think we had about 20 different police chiefs, which speaks a lot about that event. I mean, they took their Saturday morning to be there with us, and I think it was really nice. Attended the LBJ Express 10-year anniversary celebration, and I don't know, I think we take so many things for granted. I think we have it so good and we don't even realize it. The amount of work and collaboration and just brain work that had to go in to make that successful is just incredible. Attended the early college high school meeting over with Mr. Isley over at the Brookhaven campus, and also was able to attend the Chamber Business Expo that partnered with Addison, Carrollton, and also the Chamber of Commerce of India, which was really nice. The mayor and Councilman Neal and I had an opportunity to meet with the principal, the director of Parish Episcopal School. It's just such a great facility and a beautiful campus, and they're doing really great work there. It was really nice to meet with them and get to know them and talk about sort of things that we would love to bring to the city, and it was a very positive meeting. I also attended the MetroCrest Chamber monthly board meeting, where I was also able to brag about all of the great things that are going on. And it's important for us to show up to these meetings. On the 11th of September, me and Trustee Ileana Garza Rojas from the school board met with Council Member Chris Beard from the city of Garland, and they really just showed us the town. We wanted to come out to other cities to see what best practices, and we had a meal there, and they showed us all of the old Garland that was really just run down, and it was just nobody wanted to be there, and they have completely transformed that community. We visited the library. The library actually has a slide. They moved the entire children's section down to the basement, which used to be dingy and ugly and dark, and turned it into this amazing space, and you get on a slide to go down to the children's area, which was really nice. This month is library card sign-up month. If you don't have a library card, you should go and get one. The library is no longer just a place where you check out books. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that you can, including movies and all kinds of other things that you can take advantage of online. So I went to go make sure that my library card was where it needed to be. I also took advantage and attended the library board meeting, and they're doing some great work. So I was really happy to be able to join them and say hello. I also attended with the mayor the task force meeting for boats, RVs, and trailers. And it looks like we're getting really close to making a compromise and figuring out what it is that our residents want. I'm sure the mayor will speak of that. Today is National Voter Registration Day. If you are not registered to vote, register. If you're not sure, make sure that you're registered to vote. This is really important. Thank you so much, and thank you for letting me serve you. It's such an honor and such a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. I, like you, had very busy past 2 weeks, and so if you'll allow me to report, I took the city manager and deputy city manager to a meeting at Loli Rugs, which is a business that is located off of Spring Valley. They're a very major property owner here in Farmers Branch, 4 buildings, and we had the opportunity to meet with the owner of the company and discuss his business and future plans. Councilwoman Villafranca and I went with David Prince, the owner of Eagle Gun Range, and toured some of the vacant office property.
Oh, yeah.
Around I'll say the northeast quadrant of our city, and have developed some strategies coming from that. I had the opportunity to go to the ribbon cutting grand opening of Preston Hollows Presbyterian School, which is right over by near the Saltgrass Steakhouse. They took over some office space over there, and visited with Nicole Bell, the head of school, and then I also invited her to come speak at a council meeting to tell folks what her school is all about. Of course, I attended the monthly Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition meeting. Again, we talk about transportation issues that are facing the area. Along with Councilwoman Villafranca, I attended the Police Chiefs Roundtable at Venue 1842. I think all the chiefs from area cities that came were very impressed by our little venue over there. And it's really a good time when we can show off assets in our city to them. I attended the first Monday breakfast at the Branch Connection. 2 Heart Awards were given out for outstanding volunteers. Jean Trebert and Deborah Hull were recipients of awards there, and I know those 2 ladies do a tremendous amount of work over there, and it was nice to see them get recognized. City manager and I had a meeting with Presidium. Presidium is the developer of the multifamily complex, the new multifamily development just to the west of Saltgrass Steakhouse, borders 635. They are in process of getting their financing together for phase 2 of their project, which would be a podium-style 7-story tower. Along with Councilwoman Villafranca, I attended the 10th anniversary event that was held or hosted by LBJ Express, and we had the opportunity there to visit with elected officials from other cities and folks from the Council of Governments. We had the Metroplex Mayor's Breakfast, and our keynote speaker was Chris Long from the North Texas Commission, talking about legislative changes and things going on down in Austin, very similar to what we just had. I attended the MetroCrest Chamber Business Expo at the Marriott Quorum, and it's always a good thing when we can support our area Chamber of Commerce. They put on a really nice business expo there, and Michael, thank you. You do a really good job. Appreciate it. I attended a Mayor's AI workshop presented by the U.S. Conference of Mayors last week. This was extremely interesting and sort of timely that we've just approved in our budget money for AI and blockchain. And I got to tell you, I was blown away by the information that was presented to us. And gosh, this was just tip of the iceberg. So I can't wait to do some more research on this and learn more about AI and how cities can use it to become more efficient, better in communications, better engagement with residents. And that meeting took place at the Google offices, which is at Spectrum Center in Addison. Again, with Councilman Neal and Councilwoman Villafranca, we had a very good meeting with Dr. Rush, who is the head of school at Parish Episcopal, talked about development in the area, and touched on a little bit of possible future growth opportunities for the school. Of course, we had another meeting of our Boats, Campers, RV, and Trailers Task Force. And good input continues to come from that, from the residents that are participating in that. And again, the task force was open to anybody. I promoted it that way back in my town hall meeting in May. And ironically, all but one person owns one of those vehicles. So we're getting really good input I'm getting really good input from folks who are really on both sides of the issue, but heavier on the side that has these vehicles. So I think hopefully council will be supportive of something that I bring up under our next agenda item. DART had their annual meeting the other day, and I had the opportunity to visit with Brad Alberts, who's president of Dallas Stars, at that meeting and discuss the success of his venue and the need for us to think about where do we park all these cars. So we will have additional discussion on that. I attended the annual meeting also of the North Texas Commission with Ben, and just to hear about all the things that are going on in this area, it's amazing. Not just North Dallas, but whole North Texas area and the counties that the North Texas Commission serves. Saturday, I went over to Grapevine for Grape Fest and had an informal discussion with several mayors there at the luncheon they had afterwards. A lot of fun. I did not stomp. Farmers Branch was defending champion, but we didn't defend since we didn't stomp. And but it was still a really fun time to go and support everybody else who was. This morning, the city manager and I had a meeting at Brookhaven Country Club to discuss future pickleball, and that will be ongoing discussions. We are working with the club. I think we've got an excellent partnership with them and look for more things to come in the future. And then at lunchtime today, I went to a State of Infrastructure meeting hosted by Dallas Regional Dallas Regional Chamber of Commerce. Our Chamber of Commerce was there, and Chris McLaughlin, who's the CEO of DFW Airport, spoke, as well as Michael Morris, Transportation Director for the Council of Governments, and just talking about the need for, or the impact rather, of transportation infrastructure on our area. You know, we have 8.5 million people here today, but they're really charged. Michael Morris said his goal, his charge is to look at what this area is going to be 25 years down the road. And we're headed to be around 12 million or more people very shortly. And how do you move those people efficiently? Mass transit has got to be a piece of that equation. And obviously having good air transit and good rail and good streets and highways and all that, very important. So very informative discussion. And then lastly, I will leave you with this. This week is Rail Safety Week. And if you didn't know it, every 3 hours, a person or a vehicle is hit by a train in the United States. Every 3 hours. I want to remind everybody, don't walk on train bridges. If a signal is not working, please call and report the crossing number. Every signal, railroad crossing signal, has a phone number on it to call, along with the crossing number. Let somebody know, or call 911, report it to police, because we just don't want anybody running through a non-working crossing and getting hit by a train. And then lastly, playing on, walking, jogging, or cycling on train tracks is illegal. So stay off the tracks. That is all I have. Next up is review and item C6, review and discuss future agenda items. Councilwoman Bennett.
Not this time.
Councilman Reed. Councilman Neal.
Yes, just one thing. I'd like to have somewhat of a final update on the garage conversion program. As I understand, that's going to expire here in December. If we can get something maybe in November to help us determine what our steps will be after the end of the period in December and present some options on where do we go from there.
Thank you. Councilman Roman.
Nothing from me.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. I've got a couple of things. I would like to request that the city manager put out a survey regarding boats, campers, RVs, and trailers. Since we have not had a town hall meeting on this, I'd like to have the city create an online survey to gauge public opinion on this issue and help give the council better information as we look forward to moving one way or the other on these type vehicles. I'd also like to revisit our expense reimbursement policy. I'd like to visit our travel for legislative issues policy.
Mayor, I think we already have the one on the expense.
Okay. Just repeating it.
Reimbursement.
Okay. And then I'd like the city to consider putting a one-way sign placed on Valley View for traffic coming out of Johnson's Outpost that points to the west.
It's already been done, Mayor.
Oh, they did it?
That's how great and efficient everyone in the city is.
Love it.
It's already been done.
Oh, my gosh, that's great. Okay. And then lastly, I'd like to know if the city council is interested in participating on the Salvation Army's Red Kettle Day, which would be Saturday, December 13th. We did this a couple years back, and so that's it. And I'd like us to do it again.
Mayor, point of clarification on the legislative travel. What are you looking for on that one?
So we saw this year several items came up down in Austin which affected our city and necessitated a representative to go with like less than 24 hours notice. So in the future, if we have to take immediate action to go, we should be able to do that without having to wait for a travel or expense review committee to approve that.
We'll double check. I believe that's been accounted for.
I think that's already in
Okay.
the policy.
If it is, great. If not, let's just make sure. With that, that would conclude our regular meeting tonight. We do have some executive items to attend to, so I will read into executive session the items that are outstanding. Item D1, the City Council will convene in a closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with the attorney to seek legal advice regarding regulating firearms at city meetings pursuant to Section 3006 and 3007 of the Texas Penal Code. Item D2, City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with the attorney to consult with the city attorney and receive an update regarding pending or threatened litigation. Item D3, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Branch Project 2025.017. D4, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Branch Project 2025.018. Item D5, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Ranch Project 2025.020. And item D6, City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with city attorney to seek legal advice regarding matters related to Dallas area rapid transit, including but not limited to correspondence, programs, funding, agreements, and any associated legal rights, obligations, or potential actions. And we've already read in item D7. We will come back afterwards to announce any action. Thank you very much, everybody, for waiting. I will report that there is no action to take as a result of executive session, but at this time, we're going to go back to item L3, and I'm going to reread this because there is some additional action to take on that item. Item L3, consider adopting ordinance number 3959, accepting the tax year 2025 certification of appraisal roll in accordance with Section 26.04B of the State Property Tax Code, and to levy and adopt the tax rate for fiscal 2025-26 tax year 25 in accordance with Section 26.05B and take appropriate action.
Mayor, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.5435, which is effectively a 4.70% increase in the tax rate, and to modify ordinance number 3959 accordingly.
I second.
Okay.
Motion in a second.
We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly.
Roll call vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Roll call vote. Councilwoman Bennett?
Yes.
Councilman Reed?
Yes.
Councilman Neal?
No.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
No, we're done.
Okay. All right, well, with that concludes our business for this evening. So thank you all very much. We will adjourn at 9:50.
That's the maximum that we have to put in there because that's the maximum tax rate.